Hello, everybody. So sorry that took a little bit longer than I'd planned. We were talking about this today and couldn't get the lighting right, so I look like a ghoul. It's either that or I'm in the dark, so it'd be kind of hard to talk to you and feel like that's not very. Hey, so everyone, welcome to the weekly discussion, and I love this day. I look forward to it every single day. I plan, I think, and I drop cameras. Typical stuff. So hey, so everything kind of goes off without a hitch when it comes to the DM guide. Everyone can plan it all out. It's got a lot of amazing features that a lot of people just jump right on. And some people say it's a little bit too easy, or some people say it's too complex. One thing about the internet is that everyone has a different opinion about everything. So I thought, hey, why not put my own opinion out there? And if you like it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But we're also just discussing this. So if you want in the comments below, tell me what your first experiences are with the whole thing. Anywho, before we get started on this, I wanted to mention something. I'm putting something on my wall. Bardic Inspiration. I don't know what font that is, but I love it. Probably on Google Docs, so it's one of them. You can find it there. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I'm really trying to get everybody to get involved in the community, and one of the ways that I feel like I can get involvement with everybody is tell you all how much it means to me that you've been commenting and that you've been kind of a part of this. I've been going on this for about 6, almost 7 months. It's not like a huge growth, but it's D&D and it's a nerd community, and let's face it, there's a bazillion of those. I'm sorry I look like if in character creation you turned up the gamma so high that the person looked radiated. But that's what I look like right now. I'm just looking at the capture. Look at that guy. Oh, oh. See if I'm like this close. What if I'm this close? Oh, that's uncomfortable for everybody. Okay, anyway. Um, that doesn't matter, does it? Because we're talking about opinions. Anyway, guys, one of my favorite things about the Dungeon Master's Manual is that we're talking 5e, just in case you're wondering, is that it's very easy to figure out. It teaches you how to do homebrew, which is pretty unique because you're thinking about they want you to buy their books, but they also tell you how to create a world. And it's, yeah, you can use the worlds that they've already created, and we've gone over that before, but I like that, feels that know me, I'm a huge fan of homebrew. I'm a huge fan of making your world. So they even talk about that at the very beginning. You probably won't be able to see it, but right here, yeah, it's your world. I kind of like that because they're catering to people that are maybe not necessarily wanting to run a module, but want to create something for themselves. So it's catered to people who are brand new, but it has some complex features in it as well. One of my other favorite parts, and this is just my initial reaction to it. I'm not taking my opinions based off of other people on the internet. I never do that because I don't like to give you regurgitated stuff that other people have done. You can find that anywhere. If you want, you can look up other people. Like look up Nerdarchy, by the way, if you want like in-depth discussion. Like sometimes they go on for like a couple hours. Like they're really in depth. I follow them. They're really great guys. But in no way is anyone influencing the way I see things. So, all right. Anyway, one of the other things that stood out to me is that they have the factions in here, guys. The factions are one of the best things because I like to create. If you've ever played, and I've talked about this before too, if you ever played like the Elder Scrolls series, they have like the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, the Thieves Guild. You know what I mean? They have something like that in here too. It's right here. Check that out. So that's beautiful, and it gives you a break from for your eyes for a minute. So it's got the Harpers, the Order of the Gauntlet, or something like that. I know that. What is their name? Order of the Gauntlet. I was right. Emerald Enclave, Lords Alliances, and then Tarim. So I'm running a campaign right now that these guys have taken over the world. That is to say, they are kind of an ambitious guild. They go about like trying to find the most schemy way to take over, and it's kind of cool. Next, Lord's Alliance. They're really all about like keeping the peace, but also like serving the Lord that they're around. Emerald Enclave, of course, what it sounds like and what it kind of looks like. They're protectors of nature and the naturalism of the world and what balance things like that. Anyway, I could go on, but when you put in factions, you put in life to a place. So uh, the book, yeah, you could look that stuff up online. I like the book because it goes over, what kind of languages and dialects and how they go over the trade between them and how the situation works with like getting renown within a guild. And you can find that elsewhere too, but just having it, I like physical copies. You can also download PDFs online, go to Wizards of the Coast, and they are just fantastic about getting that to you. I'm not a sponsor. They're not my sponsor. Yeah, that. I mean, if you didn't have the book, where would you get a picture of that guy? I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but he's there. Okay, but the point is, the book has a lot of cool features. One of my other ones is how they talk about the multiverse and the pantheon. Near the beginning of the book, it talks about how to create a world. And when you're adding a pantheon of gods, it's really difficult to keep track of them all. So they have lists of different ones and where they reside, which I think is fantastic. It tells you the different realms you can visit, like some portal. I don't know how you'd get to them. I haven't quite figured that out myself, but I'm going to be throwing one at my group. But they don't watch this, thank heavens. I don't tell them that I do this because I don't want them finding out all my info. It'd be bad DMing on my part if I did. Don't watch this if you're watching. Turn it off now. Anyway, also, really, really cool thing, and they might have done this in the earlier ones, I'm not sure, but they have roll tables. Do you know what a roll table is? Well, if you don't, I'll show you. So, this one's about dungeons. So, if you see right there, you roll d20, and I'm not sure if it's in focus, but it's fine if it's not. You roll a d20, and it tells you, let's say you roll a 10. So, in the dungeon goal, find an NPC who has disappeared in the area. So, it creates kind of a story arc for you to jump on. Say, as a DM, you're just like, oh, they want to go to a dungeon. They're like, yeah, let's go to a dungeon. But you prepared something totally different. You prepared a high complex situation in the ballroom of the place that they're supposed to go to, and it's a masquerade, and they're supposed to get talking to everybody and find out some kind of plot to take over the kingdom. But instead, they said, you know what? Let's read the board and see what kind of quests there are today. You know what happens all the time? It happens so much that D&D, these people, Wizards of the Coast, they're like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create tables for you. We're going to make it really easy. And yeah, there are tables online. Definitely Reddit is just like a source of just absolute everything you can ever want. But I like these because they're really simple. You can just pull it up. You don't have to search and type in, and you can act like you're on control. You're just like, yes, I do have a quest for you. Here it is. I'm going to turn the page right here, and it says, roll some dice. The adventure villain is a fae with a mysterious goal. So you're like, you throw in some, you walk into the dungeon, you find that there is some faint glow on the ground as you roll a perception check. And then that way they kind of hint towards some kind of fae or something of that nature. Anyway, next I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going through the book quickly because I had it all marked, but some of my notes fell out, but that's okay. Oh, right. Creating NPCs. Now, if you look on my channel as well, I have a new playlist that I'm working on. Is creating NPCs for people because sometimes it is hard to get an NPC that really fits a situation. Say, for instance, you're in a town, which often is the case. They decide to talk to someone you hadn't created yet, or go into shops that you hadn't quite hashed out yet. There we go. We have these tables right here, and you can just roll and they get someone for you. You can also have like people that you meet in dungeons and things like that. So they also go over traps and hazards and things like that. But next, I love also mapping. Who doesn't like maps? You ever looked at a map at like a fantasy world and just gone like, man, that's a good map. I do all the time because I make maps all the time. So they have some, obviously, in the very, very, very back of the book, they have map ideas, and so off the cuff, you can just jump right to these, and they'll be able to go over those with you. They explain what they are and the legends and stuff of that nature. But I mean, you can create your own. I prefer to create mine, but they sometimes don't go where I want them to. All right, next one I wanted to talk about, and since there's no one on, and let's face it, no one's going to be on for a while. I'm going to be doing these every single week, and right now there's nobody. And if you're watching this way in the future, there's lots of comments. But it's not when you're watching this right now. I mean, with like viewer live, there's nobody on. That's okay because this is the beginning, and I don't feel discouraged. And I want you to know that if you're doing a channel like this, or you're doing your own thing, or you're thinking about doing your own thing, just do it. Just have fun with it because yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know I'm going to continue because this is something I love. It's a subject I enjoy. So, and besides, I talk to myself anyway, so it's genuinely totally okay. All right, next I wanted to talk about blah blah blah. No, I want to talk about items. So items in the D&D world are ranging from absolutely just string from a pocket and some lint to the most wondrous items that can pretty much stop a god from doing something, you know? So it's kind of hard to find a medium, especially when it comes to loot. At least I found personally when I'm trying to figure out what to give my players when they're like, oh, I'm going to search his pockets. And you're like, I didn't think of what I should put in his pockets. Now you have these tables. All right, so let me show you this. And roll tables are all over in this book, and I think it is brilliant. And I just think that one reason why you should do this in every kind of book like this is because sometimes it's just hard to be creative. And when people are in the moment, it's just like, yes, I have it right here. You keep a little note, you pull it over, and then you roll the tables. Look at all these. I mean, these are pages of these type of things. Things that you can earn, things that are just armor. You can just do money-wise, gems, things that are important. I love this stuff where it talks about the different items and what they're worth and what they're like wondrous, if they're legendary or rare. You know, they're doing that in a lot of games right now, and I think that is a good idea. They did it with Shadows of War, that's old now compared to when you're probably watching this, but Shadows of War comes out today, October 10th, 2017, I think is the date. And they have like this whole thing with Assassin's Creed Origins, which is also coming out on the 27th. These games are putting in like loot that's like epic rare. I mean, Destiny did it. A bunch of others did it before, but when you put those things in there, people feel like, oh, that's a rare, that's a legendary, instead of just like, this is a steel sword. It is steel and also a sword. I feel like they're like, oh, they always ask me, well, what does that do? And I always say, it does 1d8 slashing. And they're like, oh, well, I have one that's, why would I want that? Be more creative with your people. I mean, this is coming from a ghost, so take it or leave it. But I feel like if you have things like this ready beforehand, it's good. But the DM book, I mean, you can look up online, and this is what I'm trying to get across, is that you don't need the book. You don't. You can survive without it. But will you be better off for it, for having the book? Yeah, you'll have the book. It is everything that you could possibly need. It has got pretty much everything. And last but not least, the thing I wanted to mention is sentient items. Those are always fun. Something that talks to you, it's great. Okay, and I'd never discovered this before, but I was reading through the book. I always get about 3/4 the way through, and then I start over. I normally hop around because you're not really supposed to read the book straight through, but I kind of stop at like the monster crafting section because that's what I kind of spend a lot of time in. But there's something else that I never read before, and I read today, and I was just blown away. All right, probably shouldn't blow most people away, but it does for me. There is a section in this book that I currently cannot find because I lost all my papers that were in here that talks about creating your own little ability scores. So when you have an ability score, you have like the strength, the intelligence, dexterity, all that fun stuff. When you add your own ability score, what they're saying is that you can try to add like honor or what was it? What was it? What was it? Light. It was bright. Shouldn't stare at it. Yeah, it was an ability score for like honor and terror or horror. I don't remember what it was, what they labeled it as, but it was whole you can add to your character sheet. And I liked where they talked about honor because some classes I feel like can be murder hobos with the rest, but probably shouldn't. So, for instance, a cleric that's kind of more on the light side of clerics, or paladin that are not so much on the vengeance side. I feel like paladins and clerics should be held to kind of like an honor code. So what I'm going to start adding into my campaign is the whole thing that I just read today. It was so cool. It just talks about how you roll for it, and based off of what they get, they can use it. Like they can either lose honor in that society, and people will know. And I think it's a good way to. I love this guy with the motorcycle. He loves his bike. It's a good way to police without being a overbearing DM, which is so easy to do. There's so many people that are like, how do I punish my paladin? I've thought the same thing, so I'm not judging. Um, it's not that you want to punish them; it's that you want to control, and it's not that maybe control is not the right word, but you want them to be a paladin. Make sense? Because if you're saying like, "Oh, God of Light, may I do this, please?" But if they're like, for instance, So he'll laugh if he watches this. My brother, he plays a paladin, and he does a good job. But when he mutilates someone, like they have this running theme where they chop off the hand of one of the characters, or like different characters that they defeat. And even though that's kind of funny, it kind of doesn't make sense that a paladin would be mutilating people and keeping severed hands in a bag. That seems more of a, I don't know, an evil thing to do. So I feel like with this honor points and things like that, you are allowing yourself as a DM to give them this choice and say, here's what's going to happen. You roll and you lose honor for what you're doing. You don't have a good reason for mutilating this person, dead or living. I've seen both removal of hands for this. Anyway, so this is a way I'm going to be able to control this a little bit better as a DM. This is just one example of why the book is important, because you're able to get things from it that you've never been able to get before. And I have read it a couple times. I've read it a couple times through. Maybe not all the way through, but probably good. I'm not good at fractions, but let's just say 7/8. Yeah, that works. Pretty close to the whole thing. And the book itself is not that big, but it's a good enough size. And the book is not that expensive either. You can go pick it up. I recommend Amazon, not because I'm an affiliate, which I just recently am, but because you get a good price for it. And you go to a game store, and I say support your local game stores especially, but if you want price and you don't have a lot of funds, which I didn't when I bought this, Amazon gets a good price for it. So anyway, that's my spiel. That's my thoughts on the whole thing. You can definitely check it out. I recommend getting it before you start DMing. Also, if you're a player and just want to know what's going on, they have additional rules and things like that. And you can kind of get in the head of your DM and kind of understand what they're going through or what they're trying to accomplish. A lot of what we do as DMs is create experiences. Yeah, anyone can create a world. Anyone can say, yes, you're from Glorp Glorp and you have this thing, but a real DM, someone who really thinks about it, goes into as much detail as they possibly can, and so much detail that you will never quite understand or reach that kind of level of detail. For instance, and I consider myself a good DM. I'm not going to be arrogant or anything, but I consider myself a good DM. People that I DM for love when I DM, and the reason why is because I create an open world for them to explore, but also I try to keep everything concise and fit into a line, even though I'm not keeping them on that track, and they can choose to go away from it completely. But you make a story so compelling that they want to be a part of it, and I think that is a huge no-no in a lot of people's DMing. How they DM their preferences. They try to put everyone on this track, and they say you cannot deviate from this track, and if you do, then bad things happen to you. Don't punish your players for being players. Make the situation so fun and so exciting, and put your passion into it, because if you're not passionate about it, your players will feel that. And if you feel nervous and you act like you've never done this before, I mean, even if you haven't, my first time DMing, I just threw a vampire at them and almost got them all killed. Had a good time, but I learned that you can't just force people to have fun. You've got to allow them to get into character. You've got to allow them to have a great time with each other, be comfortable, because you can't just have a group that's just they don't know each other. So definitely have a icebreakers, maybe even an icebreaker session where you make your characters together. Those are just little tips and things that I find in the book itself. So yay or nay, do I say get it? I say yay, because obviously I got it and I think it's a good idea. So what are your opinions? Do you think you should get it? Do you think other people should get it? I don't know. That's up to you. But besides, who knows? Maybe there's a 6th edition out already. But this might be antiquated and it might be brand new. But I love you guys. Thanks for always watching and being on here. Anyways, people do come on afterwards, so I'm pretty much catering to people that don't watch it at 1 Mountain Standard Time, 1:30-ish today. But I think that it was good, and I think that we had a good time. And those that have any opinions, please comment. I love your comments. I read every single one. I always do. That is to say, I read them when there was about 5 to 10 in each video. Maybe there's hundreds and hundreds now, and I'll try to get to them as well. But I can't make any promises. Anyway, love you guys. I will see you next week, Tuesday at 1 or 2, somewhere in that time frame. And everything else, that's pretty much it. So talk to you later. May your rolls always be natural ones, but not natural ones because those are awful. I'll talk to you later. Bye.